everyone. Farrukh Siddiqui, founder and CEO of Defynance, and we are on again to introduce you to another one of our great partners that has come on board with Defynance and our ROEP marketplace. And for those of you who haven't heard of ROEP before, it's the Resources Optimizing Earning Potential Marketplace with career resources and a whole lot more. So, Chad Silverstein of ReStart Works, welcome, Chad. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm great. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
No problem, Chad. I mean, I know we've been talking for a while, and I really, really love what you guys are doing, and I think your partnership is one of the central ones for Rope. So, but really, to me, like the coolest thing is right that, and when you talk about it, I think you can fill in the color here, but you've kind of taken an industry that not doesn't necessarily have the best of reputations, and you've integrated a certain feature and benefit to that and really made it into something really so awesome, which now you're kind of spinning out into its own thing, right? From the journey, right? So I'd love to hear that journey, where it all started, how did you get going with it, and where are things today, and then we'll talk more from there.
Sure, sure. Well, I appreciate that. So, yeah, I started my collection agency. We're a third-party collection agency while I was in college when I went to Ohio State in 1997. And I had a summer job on the phones. And when I came back to school my senior year, the company offered me an opportunity to start working with him in Columbus, Ohio. And it took off. I graduated and I stayed on board with him, and he made me a partner. And he had a company in Cleveland, I had a company in Columbus, and we just really took customer service to a whole new level and how we collect debts for our clients, which is primarily in the healthcare field. And people want us to be nice to people, and so I kind of carried out a vision throughout my culture. I was real big on employee engagement and really trying to get people excited about where they work. And it's not easy when you work at a collection agency.
For sure.
I always say people don't wake up and say they want to go work at a collection agency. So I had a big vision to change the perception of collections, and we were nice to people, and it really worked really well. But I was challenged by my team to do more, and had a leadership coach who was pressuring me to write out my vision. And so, long story short, we started ReStart, and it had a purpose. It had a purpose to help people and to give people back without feeling like there's strings attached. And so we figured, what better way to solve the problem of people being in debt than to help them find a job so they can empower themselves and get themselves out of debt. And it just took off. We started it with a couple employees, and it really grew into something special. So fast forward to today, it works so well, and we saw so many wins from the ability to help people. And I think when you really look at business and you take the vantage point of saying stay single-minded, very focused, that works really well. But when you can offer a diverse set of capabilities that normally are outside your range of scope of your business, it could really be a big win. So I love the collaborative efforts, and so I started this little department inside the collection agency to help people get jobs, and we fine-tuned it. And now we today have started offering this service to other businesses to make it their own so that they can help people get jobs. And I think that's kind of takes us to why we're talking in our partnership, because I know you have a lot invested in the people that you're going to be working with, and you want to help them. And so our collaborative partnership is really going to be a win-win for everybody who's involved, because we get to offer them things that they normally wouldn't expect to get from someone like me and someone like you.
Yeah, and Chad, like, and we've talked about this a little bit. Like, I'm very much averse to debt. I hate debt, and everything that I've kind of worked on in my career is to build alternative solutions towards to debt, right? And that's what we're doing with our income share agreement and all this stuff. But like, what amazes me about what you've done is like, you wouldn't expect it to come from a collections agency. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, you could see maybe some lenders may think about it or this, and they don't really typically don't think about it, but how does this come from a collection agency to go, what, we need to figure out how to get people jobs so they can work and then they can take care of these responsibilities, because obviously we don't want to have a culture where people don't take care of their responsibilities.
Right.
But if you
Well,
have
what's
debt,
what's what's
yeah.
ironic about it is that maybe we should expect it from collection agencies. That's the funny thing, right? Because we're one of the most regulated uh, industries in business. there's very few companies who are hated as much as collection agencies. I mean,
Exactly.
it's unbelievable what people, there's a reason for it. And I think it all stemmed from a few years back when the companies that used to buy debt, they were debt buyers. They would do anything to kind of, get their money back from the investments they make. I'm a third party collection agency. We work on a contingency. I don't make investments and have to back, but it's still a cutthroat industry. And when these clients are pressuring a collection agency and the collection agencies have turnover with collectors, there's a reason why they get complaint calls. And I think if you think about just doing good business, if you think about in any business, forget a collection agency, any business, good business is making a social impact. It's about more than just a profit. It's doing good business. And I think if you look at the conscious capitalism social impact that's being made by so many companies who have a real strong purpose to serve their people that they're doing business with, I think maybe we should expect more companies to be helping people. I think why not? And I think again, in the long run, it just makes sense because you're going to have loyalty. I mean, we have walls wallpapered with love letters from people. So they hope that they would hear from us if they get put in collections. It makes sense, right?
That's exactly what I was going to ask you next. Is that, like growing up, you used to watch those commercials of Reader's Digest. The sweepstakes. People used to knock on the door and say, "Hey, you won this big amount," right? And people would just go crazy.
Yeah.
I would think you probably get that experience from some of your customers, right? So tell
It's
us a little bit about that. Like give us a couple of stories about what people have said. When they've seen the impact of what you're doing.
Yeah, so I think that was the biggest thing that happened when we started ReStart. So we started helping people get jobs. I took a collector off their desk. I said, just pour yourself into this person. I know you don't know what you're doing, but just help them and find. And I remember the first couple of days she came to me crying, and she remembered her saying, "I can't get anyone who wants me to help them." I'm like, seriously? Like nobody wants you to help? I said, keep trying. I said, and find that one person who wants your help and pour yourself into them. Do whatever you need to do. And eventually, she came across a lot of people who wanted our help, and it was amazing how much outpouring came from the community, even when we didn't help them actually get the job. The support, the actual caring, the I'm there for you, that they were not alone. The job process, the job search process is brutal for people. They don't know where to go. They're set up to fail from day one. And now with all the technology, it's literally designed to take human beings out of the picture. They have applicant tracking systems. I mean, the employers have the upper hand 100% of the time. So for job seekers, they literally are just spamming everybody with their resumes. They end up getting a job, and then it's like dying a slow death. They are miserable. And we don't believe that people should have to work in a job that they're miserable. So when we were able to start helping people and we started getting these what we call love letters, what we didn't see coming was how that would impact our culture,
Mm.
how my staff would react to these success stories. We would have a discipline that every month we would have the ReStart team share a success story to the team at our month-end meetings. And it was incredible. We would be reading letters and you'd see people tear up, and when the collector who made the connection is getting credit for changing that person's life, it's transformational, right?
It
So
is.
what happened was I started interviewing. I've interviewed a lot of people. I started interviewing people, and people started applying to work at our company because of ReStart. It was incredible. So it became like a recruiting tool, which is amazing. And at the same time, it became marketing gold, as you can imagine, because these testimonials, I mean, clients go crazy when they find out what we're doing. So like people just want to be involved and they want to be connected to a feel good story. And ReStart provides that because not many companies are doing things like this for free. And we don't charge job seekers and we don't charge the employers. So we have nothing in stake except to be an advocate for the job seeker and do everything we can to try to help that person find something they love. There's no expiration when they work with us. They can work with us for as long as they want. And we built a pretty cool platform that allows them to grow on it so they can get leadership tools. We found that one of the biggest problems that people have today is they don't know where to go. The internet is so vast and it can be so overwhelming that there's so many great resources and tools. So we've just pulled the best of the best, partnered with the best collaborative partners like you, and we just try to give them the most value that we can give them.
Yeah, and maybe let's talk a little bit more about that, right? Let's make people understand a little bit better about what is exactly the platform, what they're
Yeah.
actually getting on the platform, right? And how is that platform simplifying this process for job seekers, right? And
Yeah.
this advocacy concept that you just mentioned as well. Love to hear more about that too.
Yeah. It's interesting, so I've interviewed probably over 1,000 people over my career, and I've had the hardest time recruiting for a collection agency because again, no one wants to go work at a collection agency. So we have to really market hard to get people on board. But I've done everything you could possibly imagine from an employer, and I spent a lot of money, right? these job boards, they know how to do it. I think they print money in the back of their companies. And as a job seeker, what I hear from every job seeker is the same thing from everybody, that they can't stand going to these job boards and seeing the list of job descriptions that all look exactly the same, and they just spam and they never hear back from anybody. So the system seems to me like it's broke, and I don't like, one of my skills of how I run my business is I like to solve problems, and I like to do it using simple processes. So I never saw myself in the software development world, but we went down this track to build software for this platform. And my goal was to pretty much, in a nutshell, build like a dating site for employers and employees where they can just connect on my platform and I'll get out of their way and let them do their thing. And then no one has to pay anything. And it's a win-win for everybody involved. So the fact that I have other companies who are paying my company to be able to sponsor this amazing gift that we give people, we didn't have to make money from job seekers or employers. So we really, the advocacy of the job seeker, think like a sports agent who works for the athlete. We work for the job seeker. So when the employers call us up and say, hey, we need to fill spots, we say, okay, well, you can have access to our job seekers, but we don't work for you and you're not paying us. So you shouldn't expect anything. And you're not paying us to post jobs on our site because we're not a job board. And so the platform ended up becoming a thing where we just wanted to give the best of the best resources. So we've given everything that you could possibly need to get, from everything from building your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile. These are things that are just basic things that a lot of times might be common sense, but they're not common practice.
Right.
And so we give people and empower them with those tools. And what I did was I started collaborative partnerships with the best people that I could find who wanted access to my job seekers because they think there's a win there. And they give me free content. They give me all their magic, right? And I collect it and I give it to the people that are job seekers. And if the job seekers want to look at that stuff, they can benefit. And if they want to go and go meet and do business with the collaborator, they can have that choice, but I don't push it on them and they don't have to buy anything. And I'm just collecting the best of the best, and I continue to fine tune that stuff. So I found an incredible influencer on LinkedIn who's a master at LinkedIn, and he's given me all of his content, and I literally am just giving that to all the people who are on our platform. So between the learning center and the resources, the entrepreneurial mindset, I really try to get inside the entrepreneur's head so that I can give job seekers an insight onto like what should you expect going into an interview and all the different types. I'll give you one example. It's a big problem for job seekers to not know what kind of a company they want to work at, whether it's a small private company or culture. They're two different worlds. So we help them understand that. So before they go on this job search and just start spamming everybody for a job, we want them to know what they're interviewing for and what kind of a company and culture, and into what kind of questions to ask at the interview. So all those little insights that are nuances that I believe are the difference makers when someone goes to get a job, I think are critical points. But the big piece is the employer network. So our relationship with partners who love us because we don't charge them anything, they give us a warm connection. And so I'm building a database of employers around the country. Right now, I have 2,000 of them loaded up into my platform, and every day I'm adding hundreds more. And we're building relationships with these companies so that when we have a candidate that meets what they're looking for, we have that inside track with the hiring manager where we can send over our profile, and the ReStart profile is going to be very unique and different, not just a resume, something really powerful for a job seeker. And we're hopefully going to cut the line of all the other applicants that they're getting from all the ads they're running that they're spending thousands of dollars on. And we hope to make a big impact for them so that they'll get excited when they see a profile from ReStart.
So job seekers would have the flexibility to kind of do some of this stuff on their own with the resources that are available.
Yeah.
But I think what you're also alluding to is that there is a human face to this too, right?
That's the best part, right?
Someone.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk a little bit more about that, because like you said, right, a lot of, especially the young people that are coming out, after a while you kind of figure it out in terms of looking for a job. But when you're young and you're starting your career, especially, you don't have any clue. Not even like
tough.
how to find a job, but this point, right, of finding the right job, because there's statistics around that. If you don't have the right job in the beginning, that really changes your career trajectory long term.
100%. So it's kind of like a bittersweet for me. So this is my third company that I've started, and my first company has right now around 80 to 90 people. And I was in the kind of the coaching world with employees for quite some time. I mean, I've coached all my employees, and I really love building culture. But after 20 years, I'm seeing how technology gives me a different spin on business, and I want to be able to scale this and have a bigger impact across the country and helping more people than I can possibly dream of helping if it's possible. And technology is the way that will allow me to do that versus having to hire hundreds of employees. So
Mhm.
we have both kind of options. Some people don't want to set up meetings with a career advisor. Some people do. So if you come onto our platform and you're referred to, to someone through a partner like you, you have access right away to a career advisor. You could set up the one-on-one calls, and this person will pour their heart into you. And as I grow my team, I'll just be adding more career advisors based on the need on how many job seekers. So when I look at the calendar and how many meetings are set up, I just add more people. And that's where I think I'll build my team is the recruiters. And I can do that from an independent contractor perspective. And there's career advisors all over that would love to work and help people. So I have a real cool strategy for how I'm going to do that versus having to hire more employees at ReStart. I don't think I have to do that. The big thing though is if you don't want to talk to a career advisor, you've got the access to the platform. And one of the things we did is we've given you access to all the job boards because people do and they need to search through thousands of jobs.
Right.
We understand that. We have a career advisor that will do that with you, but you could do that on your own. But a lot of times you don't even know where to search. You don't know there's a specialty niche job board out there. You don't know how those job boards make money. And it's an important concept to understand when you're searching on it, because if you understand it from the employer's perspective, it navigate through using the job board. We've put all of them on our platform. So you have access to hit every single job board and search, which you should do because not every company posts on every job board. So we've given you the best of both worlds. We have our hiring partners, which are the companies that are on board that all have jobs listed on their website. The ones that we have relationships with, you can request an introduction and we can make the introduction for you. You can search through the job boards. And the other nuance that we have is the recruiting partners. These are my favorite because recruiting partners make a lot of money when they place people at their clients' offices. A recruiter makes anywhere from 20 to 30% when they place people.
Right.
So you got these big companies that say, we need a salesperson. And the recruiting company goes and they find this salesperson. So they're my favorite partners because they have a big incentive to place people in new jobs. And so when I can make my database available to recruiters and they have great positions available, it's again a win-win for everyone involved because the recruiter gets paid, the employer gets a great employee, and the employee gets a great job. So we have the hiring partners, which are the companies, the recruiting partners that have all these jobs that they're incentivized to fill, and then we have all the job boards that people can search through. So whether someone's an independent introvert and they want to work by themselves and search on the database, they can. And if someone really needs a lot of support, fresh out of college, we have that career advisor that can work with them, and they can just get on their calendar whenever they want and work on anything from building the resumes to a job search strategy or requesting introductions.
Awesome, awesome. So I know you talked about culture a lot and also values, but so is there like if I say just one word, like if people look at your company and what you're building, and if there's one word that can convey the kind of culture that you're trying to cultivate and what you're trying to get across, is there a word like that? Like what would you say?
It's funny. I have a few different companies. I would say at Trust Recovery, the collection agency, it's distinct.
Okay.
Like we're an outlier. So maybe a distinct outlier would be a great way to describe it as a differentiator. ReStart, I think, I think it's inspiring for a lot of people. There's hope, and I think when you can empower people, and maybe that's the word for a restart is to empower. It really can change someone's life when they get a job they love. And there's jobs out there. I love hearing people say, there's not that many jobs, and I'm like, really? Because all you have to do is go onto a job board and see there's thousands of jobs. There's just a matter of how do you go get the one you want, and how do you figure out what you want, which which really starts with figuring out who you are, which is why in our journey we have discovery, which is really take some assessments, some free assessments that you can take to learn who you are. You got to know what your unique abilities are in order to be able to communicate and articulate to a prospective employer what you can do for them, because they're selfish and they want to hire someone who can fill what they need.
Right.
So you have to be able to communicate what you're good at in order to be able to fill the need that they're trying to get. And I think when people can do that, that puts them ahead of the competition big time.
So, what's your advice to the person, who's struggling during this COVID pandemic, right? Who's lost a job,
Yeah.
maybe they've lost a job where they don't necessarily see themselves finding that same type of job again. Maybe that industry is dying or is really suffering in this time period. What's your advice to someone like that? Because you're talking about empowerment, hope. People feel hopeless right now. A lot of
Yeah.
people.
Well, I
So,
think people find themselves in two situations. One is they know exactly what they want to do. They have clarity. They just have to go find it. If that's the case, then through networking and getting letters of recommendation from previous employers, because that's always a good thing when you can get endorsed by somebody. Makes you look pretty good. And I would be relentless in researching and finding companies who have what I'm looking for, and not stopping until I get an interview. Meaning, I'm going to hound them, and I'm going to do everything I can to get my foot in the door and show them how I can persevere through the interview process and through your recruiting process to get a job. If they're hiring, most companies, people don't realize, most companies are desperate. They want to fill positions. They're spending thousands. And so a job seeker doesn't realize that. So they feel like they're beholden to somebody, and they're like, should I call them back? Should I check in? And I would say, yes,
Do all
yes,
that.
do all of it. And so I would be relentless if I knew what I wanted to do in finding a great company to work for. I'd be searching for best places to work. It's one little side note is our platform, all the companies, the 2,000 that we have, 95% of them are all best places to work, meaning they've been voted by the employees as a great place to work, because I think that's just important that you work at a great place. Find a great place to work, and then be relentless in how you pursue an interview to try to get that job. And you want to focus on the employer. So I would say make sure that your resume, make sure your cover letter focuses not on you and what you've done. It's, yes, you have to be able to articulate that and tell people that you can add value, but I focus on what they're looking for, and I fill that hole for them. Here's what I can do for you. And I think when you can reverse the all about me, 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 then you're really going to speak to the entrepreneur, the hiring manager, the HR person, whoever's in charge of that position, filling that position, that they can look at and go, I want to talk to this person. They know my language, right? And really, it's not rocket science. It's just focusing on the other person and not yourself. If you don't know what you want to do,
Mhm.
college kids, changing careers, your careers become obsolete, right? Who knows?
Mhm.
I think that discovery process is so critical, so that you don't waste time. I think people just have to sometimes get a job to get the job, and I understand that they want to put money on the table so they can pay their bills, and I understand that concept. So you might have to get something temporarily just to kind of get paid, and I understand that. But I think that discovery process and all the free tools and resources that are on the internet today that you can do in regards to skills assessments, values, your interests, and finding something that you love, I just think that sustains. And when you have a job that you enjoy, it tends to really take a drain on you, and it can really burn you out. And I think that's when you see people being miserable and underproducing at their jobs. So doing some discovery, some assessments to figure out and match up your skills and your passions and your interests to some type of a career. And then you got to start at the beginning sometimes, and you got to work your way up and find the right company to do it. So I would say, do some personal development, you know, resources and tools to kind of identify some of the areas that you'd be interested in, and then explore. And there's a lot of free resources that you can take advantage of for sure.
Cool, cool. I know we can talk for a long time, but we need to begin wrapping up. But
Sure.
maybe last two questions
Yeah.
as we wrap this thing up. One, maybe I have a little bit of a sense, I think, of what this answer may be, but still, I'd love to hear from you.
Okay.
Like, what inspires you? What gets you up every day to do what you do, right? This is a question that I want to ask a lot of people, because
Yeah.
I think this is something we can all really learn from each other.
That's a great question. So, look, I love doing two things. I love solving problems. I don't like to have, I call them chronic problems. I don't like to have things that are holding me back over and over, and then expecting things to have a different result. I think that's ridiculous. So I'd really love to brainstorm and come up with new, innovative ways to solve chronic problems, which is what all my businesses do for people that we do business with. And I love to give back, and I love to make a difference in people's lives, right? And I think no matter what I'm doing and no matter who I'm with, I love to pour myself into whatever engagement I'm involved with, and just giving people, my heart and soul. And I think when you do that, you have transformational relationships that sustain over time. And there's like this magic that happens, right? So like this whole collaborative effort when you partner with great people who are other innovators and visionaries, and they're doing great things. I mean, I look at what you guys are doing with your company, and I look at what I'm doing, and we're in such a similar path, that
Mhm.
yet we're doing different things, but there's such a great connection. And I think for me to have that connection with you guys is just an incredible partnership for us. And I get energy from that. I really do. It's like, you bring my capability with your capability, and you look at what we can do together, and it's just so cool. So I think, that collaborative network for me is what really inspires me.
Awesome, awesome. And then I guess finally,
Yeah.
business and non-business, right? Like, who's like that leader, that mentor, that person that really inspires you from the business side. So someone that may be in business, could be a mentor, could be whoever, or somebody maybe you've never even met, but somebody maybe you'd like to meet and have that conversation with. And even non-business, and you can pick anybody, whether it's today or in the past, whatever.
Sure. So, I've been asked that question a lot by a lot of my employees, a lot of my
Mm.
team always ask me that. And I have to tell you, I don't have that many great examples because I don't know that many people. The people I do know, I know. And I'm a very transparent person. I believe in being vulnerable and transparent and creating those kind of incredible relationships where there's a lot of deep trust. So I know a lot about the people that are close to my life. And so I don't want to try to be like them. So I get inspired by their work and what they do. But I really haven't had that many people that I've looked up to and said I want to kind of be like them. I will say that the coach that I use for leadership, I learn with him probably once a week. We practice, and he's tough. He's really tough on me, and so I really admire how he has chosen to live his life because he has been very deliberate with what he believes, what he does, how he spends his time, who he works with, and who he's held accountable to, which in his case is his faith. And I share that in common with him. It's a different faith, but we both kind of feel like we are accountable to a higher power, and that helps guide us, our principles, core values. And I think I really respect that. It inspires me. And, I think every leader deserves his own distinct way of doing business. And so I think I look at people and I learn from them instead of trying to emulate them. And I try to kind of blaze my own path, right? I try to be a little bit of an outlier myself. But I would say my business coach is definitely a stud. He knows how to do it, and he's taught me a lot. So I'm real grateful to him.
No, I think that's a good point to close. Accountable to a higher power. I think it's a very powerful, empowering concept right there as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can appreciate. Well, Chad, it's been amazing to have you with us today,
Thank you.
and seriously look forward to our partnership and working with Restart. I think you guys have built something really amazing, and we're going to be kind of the window into Restart from ROEP. It's basically the way I look at it.
Great. Great.
Let you do what you do, so we can do what we do, and I think that's where the
It's
great partnerships are formed anyway, right?
beautiful.
So anyway, thank you again so much, and to your team as well, and hopefully we'll maybe even have more of these discussions later on.
That's great. Thank you so much. Good luck.
All right, thank you.